I bleed silver and black, and I wear it with pride. Hold my shield to the sky. I'm a raider for life. 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 I'm a raider for life.
Touchdown, Raiders!
What's good, Raider Nation? It's your boy, Mikey Raider, coming to you from my toilet. That's right, that's how I felt about the Denver Broncos game. Albeit there was a lot of good to take from this game, there also was a lot of bad and worrisome moments. But this is about the future, so we're not going to dwell on the negatives too much. But like that soap says over there, I kind of want to wash my hands with a few of the things I've seen. This is the unknown storylines and my perspectives of the Raiders versus the Broncos, week 1 of the NFL season. Please hit that thumbs up, that like, that subscribe button. Consider becoming a member of this channel if you enjoy my content or you want to support in any way you can. Hit that bell for notifications for when we do go live, which is once a week. And we do got some merchandise and donation centers down below if you feel like helping a brother out while I take a douche. Yeah, I know, it's a little bit awkward. But hey, life. It is what it is. Let's get into this week's game. I did a game day primer where I predicted the score because I received the NFL script. And I predicted the final score to be 20-16, as it said in the script. But Jimmy Garoppolo, at one point, should have thrown the ball out of bounds, and we would have kicked a field goal there. Then the final score would have been what was scripted. But Jimmy Garoppolo made a mistake, admittedly, in his post-game press conference, and he threw an interception, and he said, I should have just thrown it away, taken the points, and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And after this game, a lot of people are comparing Carr to Garoppolo. And the final score for the Saints game and the Raiders game, if I'm not mistaken, I think they're actually the same. So, Raiders quarterbacks and former Raider quarterbacks get a 1-point victory in week 1 to lead their team. That being said, let's talk about we'll get into the unknown storylines that are going to be talked about in the week ahead, or storylines that people might have missed from my perspective, that they're not going to be much talking about it. But let's go through the good, then we'll get to the bad of the Raiders team as a whole in this game. Then we'll go into a little bit of depth of the unknown storylines. Let's start with the good from this week's game. We got a victory. We're starting off the season with excitement. The Denver Broncos, we all knew they were a good defensive team. We got a big victory, and that's all that matters because it is Raider Nation, and it's called Just Win, Baby. That being said, I wish the Raider Foundation would always blow teams out and not get too excited to get a barely victory versus the Denver Broncos, but a victory is a victory is a victory. And we got ourselves a victory. So we're going into the season with more expectations and thinking we can win a lot more games. Okay, relax, don't do it. Temper your expectations, Raider Nation. It was good to get a victory, but we look as good as we all thought we were, and we look as bad as they all thought we were. Again, so the good from this game is at key moments in the game, Jimmy Garoppolo was able to make plays. He ran for a first down to basically end the game, and that was good to see because we haven't seen that much from, Raider quarterbacks in the past. And then when we did, something always went wrong. So it was nice to get a victory based off of a quarterback's legs for our Raiders. That being said, the other good from this game is Jacoby Myers. Let's call him the second wide receiver for the Raiders. He was featured a lot in Josh McDaniels' offense to the detriment of many others. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Jacoby Myers really, really had a good game. And let's prayers for his concussion or whatever might have happened. And I hope he'll bounce back. And Davante Adams definitely helped him get open on key situations. And they gelled as a team, especially in the tough moments. And they were able to pull a victory together. And that is a storyline we'll talk about in a minute. And the other good from this week's game is the defensive side of the ball. They held the Denver Broncos in the second half to only 3 points. Jacorian Bennett started playing really good, coming into his own toward the end of the game, understanding the philosophy by Patrick Graham. Max Crosby was doing all he can do. He did get a sack. And the Raiders as a whole had some key moments against Russell Wilson. And even without the addition of Chandler Jones and Tyree Wilson, he's unfortunately in the bad segment this weekend. But we had a nice defensive game in the second half, and we didn't let up. And that is really, really good to say. Although they struggled in the first half, I believe overall as a team, whether it be on offense and defense, we had over 10 penalties. And we had some key penalties on the defensive side of the ball as well. But again, they were cleaned up in the second half. That's the good on offense and defense. And let's just give a good for the coaching. If we have to give a little bit of good for the coaching, let's give Josh McDaniels some good for coaching at certain moments in the game. Albeit, I did not like this game. It reminds me too much of the games last year, the same type of game planning, game scheming, and turmoil, whether it be in the locker room, outside of the locker room. It just still seems like it's all there. And some of it can be solved by Josh McDaniels changing his philosophy or certain things which he appears not willing to do at this moment. So, he got a win. He pulled the team together through adversity this week. But I don't see anything bigger and different so far. And I'm hoping for it. All right, let's get to the bad from this week's game on offensive side of the ball. What happened to our run game? Josh Jacobs, I know he was technically going to be on a pitch count. He did have under 20 carries. He only achieved about 50 yards. So he struggled. Average of 2.5 a carry. And we all knew that he was going to struggle. He was going to be on a pitch count. But our run game, meaning the offensive line, is pretty much the same offensive line as last year. And we didn't really get much going on. Again, that could be accredited to a good Denver defensive line as well. But I expected more from our offensive line, especially off of last season. But that being said, our pass block offense was that much better and gave Garoppolo many, many times in the game to stay in the pocket and find a good pass. Garoppolo should have been mentioned in the good this week. I think he was. But that was my concern, was the running game, and the pass blocking offense got better. But the run defense did not do much this week. The run blocking did not do much this week. And let's chalk it up to rust for Josh Jacobs. Then Jacoby Myers, again, he was in the good category. I'm going to throw Josh McDaniels in the bad category because of another player that has a little bit of controversy surrounding them right now, and that's Hunter Renfrow. It felt like, remember last year in game 1, we had Davante Adams. He was the new player on the team, and Josh McDaniels' game plan was to scheme and throw every ball to Davante Adams to get him started, to get the Raider Nation excited. Well, it was the same, but the opposite this year, where they game planned everything for Jacoby Myers to get Raider Nation excited about a former Patriot. Albeit he had to make the plays, which he did, and I'm happy he's a Raider. He is a good Raider. But it felt like Josh McDaniels is doing the same game plan, trying to promote a player over another player in his scheme, and nobody else is being put into the offense to be looked at or to be vaunted or to be a prize valued player as much as Jacoby Myers was this week. That could be all on Jimmy G, but I do believe the game plan for McDaniels specific certain players in the route running, and they say go to your first guy. He's your only option. And I believe that option this week was technically, from a game planning standpoint for Josh McDaniels, it was Jacoby Myers. And that might have also been good game planning to exploit the Denver defense. But I just worry about Davante Adams getting the rock as much as he deserves. I'm sure it'll fix itself. I'm not going to worry about it now until I need to. But the other wide receiver that I was worried about when they fed it to Jacoby Myers and basically Davante at most was the lack of Hunter Renfrow. The player that I said had some rumors and controversy going around that he has to fight City Hall just to be included in the playbook or to make plays for him. And it didn't seem like this week they even did that for him. So this is a storyline as well that might continue. How many targets did he have? I don't think he had any. But he was in the game a lot. And he was open a few times. That being said, if they game plan for Hunter Renfrow, he could have been a difference maker in the red zone, which the Raiders' offense was really bad this week in the red zone. And people want to compare, DC, our former quarterback, was so bad in the red zone. Well, this week it looked like Jimmy Garoppolo struggled as well. I hope that's not a Raider legacy that needs to continue. But Hunter Renfrow is a weapon in the red zone. They didn't use him. They used Jacoby Myers and Amir Abdullah, former Patriots, in the red zone, more so than they did any current Raider that was on the team before. Just saying. Hunter Renfrow is a weapon, and he needs to be used, and they need to figure it out. That's my bad on offense. My bad on defense was Tyree Wilson. I know he barely got into camp off of an injury. He played a few times. We didn't hear his name. That's never good if we don't hear his name. That being said, I'm still a little salty that we took a first-round draft pick that's injured and might not be into full season form until next season, when we need starting caliber players, especially on defense, right now. But hey, I'm still positive. We got a victory, so I don't need to dwell on the negative. All right, that's my good and bad from this week. Now let's get into the untold storylines that people should be talking about, that are not talking about, or just stuff that I think people might have missed. I spoke about the Hunter Renfrow situation. People might have missed that because Hunter Renfrow was definitely an afterthought in this week's game. The next storyline is the reporters for the Raiders. The agenda, I believe they had an agenda after the game by certain Josh McDaniels reporters, because if you watch the press conferences and the questions asked and the agenda by the reporters were, they kept constantly saying and propping up Jimmy G. Again, Raider Nation is supposedly needed to move, or half of Raider Nation is supposedly needed to move on from Derek Carr. So you know in the press they were going to prop up Jimmy Garoppolo, especially after a victory this week. It's just known. It's not because he ran to win us the game for the first down. He also threw in interceptions, and you guys blamed our former quarterback for that as well. So again, this is apples to oranges and vice versa. They propped up Jimmy Garoppolo because they need to. They want to get Raider Nation, or half of Raider Nation, to forget about Derek Carr, which is fine, and I understand it, but I just hate that the reporters have to prop up somebody who didn't have a great game, and we barely won the game. Honestly, technically, we should have lost. I'm just being honest. They missed a field goal, and they missed a PAT that would have tied the game. We might have won it in overtime, but still. We were in this game, and we should have lost. But we won. So again, that's the good. But that's why I have a little bit of a problem with the reporters propping up Jimmy Garoppolo, trying to make everybody, he's the God. Then the reporters, for the most part, the stool pigeon reporters, kept saying this exact quote. Hey, how does it feel to win a close game when last year with the team you had, you would not have won this game? With the team you had last year, you would not have won this game. How does it feel? They asked that to Devontae, to Josh Jacobs, to Jimmy Garoppolo, and everybody else, basically trying to put a sour note on last year's team, maybe against the players or the quarterback, or the lack of, winning in the end. I don't know. It just felt like it was against the players on the team last year and the chemistry. So I didn't appreciate that question, because I don't want them to compare last year's Raiders or even the quarterback in any situation. We need to move on from that, because comparing to whoever we had before and to last year is not going to get us anywhere. But they were trying to get answers from Davante Adams, maybe to make a quote about a player or about the team or whatever. And then Davante Adams went with it. He goes, I agree with you. With the team we had last year, we wouldn't have won those games, or this game. We wouldn't have won it. We lost like 9 games last year in very, small fashion. Then Jimmy Garoppolo said the same thing. Josh Jacobs said the same thing. And it just felt like the reporters were trying to compare, last year to this year when it's a different year. And just bothered me. But that's an unknown storyline that I believe certain Raider reporters have an agenda to prop up players and to make Josh McDaniels look as good as he can in a victory, because last year was so bad and a lot of Raider Nation, including myself, have soured on his coaching abilities. But hey, we got a victory. So people are saying and thinking, Mikey Raider, shut the F up. Just giving you my thoughts, guys, and my unknown storylines from this week's game. Then the next unknown storyline was, beyond Tyree Wilson, Michael Mayer. Where was he? We had one throw to a tight end in Austin Hooper and one catch. Michael Mayer, one of the best tight ends in the league that was drafted. Now we don't even have our first round draft pick playing and starting and doing big things for us in week 1. We don't even have our second round draft pick in tight end Michael Mayer doing anything for us. Hey, it wasn't in the game planning versus Denver, Mikey. He's not prepared. He's not ready for Denver. Okay. But again, I don't want to wait till week 5, 6, or 7, or 8 until we get these top-steered draft picks to play in any consistent fashion for our team. We might have lost most of the games by that point. So now we're throwing these rookies into the fire, and they're not really prepared, and we're losing, and I can't stand to get another player injured and lose a rookie. I just can't do it. So again, that all speaks to the game planning with Hunter Renfrow, Michael Mayer. They are not being included. Same thing was last year in week 1. It seemed like the same exact game plan. And again, if victories like this are needed this entire year, we're not going to win more than we lose. Then on top of that, if we can't score over 20 points a game, and every game is close, like I said, we're going to lose more than we win. Our offense is supposed to be getting better, not worse. Last year, at least in week 1, we scored like 30-something points, 33, 34 points. This week, 17. Well, it's a good Denver Bronco defense. All right, we've beaten the Broncos 7 times in a row. And I'm sure we've scored more. I have some questions about the offense. That being said, that's my storylines that I can remember off the top of my head. Hope you appreciate today's video. Let me know anything I missed, your thoughts on the game, your good, your bad, your ugly, your storylines. Let me know down below and your thoughts. And let me just be honest with you guys. After this performance versus Denver, again, our defense held their own, but they were hobbled by injuries and they didn't even have their go-to players, and they're in a brand new offense and we barely held them to 16 points. What's going to happen when we play teams like Buffalo, Kansas City? It's week 1. Maybe I'm going ahead too far. I need to relax. I understand, you guys. I get it. We play the Buffalo Bills next week. But this weekend in camp, I hope the Raiders improve. I hope they add Hunter Renfrow to the red zone packages. I hope that Josh Jacobs gets a fullback to block for him. Because I didn't see that. I didn't see a fullback blocking for Josh Jacobs that I know of. And he only averaged 2.5 yards a carry. And I don't know. Maybe they need a fullback to help a little bit, especially early on, till he gains his feet. Again, he's one of the best breaking tackles running backs in the league, but he can't do it 19 times out of 19 carries, if you know what I'm saying. It's going to be an interesting week, but we got a dub, and that's all that matters. The Raiders lead the division. We are 1-0 as San Diego lost, Kansas City lost, and we beat the Broncos. We are 1-0, and it feels good to be on top. We face the Buffalo Bills next week. Next week is going to be a different ball game and a different story. But the NFL script has something interesting in store for us for next week's game. Stay tuned to my Game Day primer and my preview for that information, because I do have the rigged script. And the Raiders are going to create some magic this year on certain times. A lot of controversy coming as well. But they're going to create some magic. It's a good NFL script, especially since the Super Bowl is in Las Vegas. I'm Mikey Raider. Thanks for tuning into the video. Have yourselves a blessed, beautiful day. Stay happy. I can't even speak. Stay happy. Stay healthy. Stay blessed. I love you, Raider Nation. We are 1-0. Let's hope for the best, but let's expect for the worst, because that's what it's been like to be a Raider fan for the good part of 20 plus years. But it's okay. We got a dub. 1-0, baby.
Let's go!
Let's go! Let's go!
Not very.
Let's go.
Let's go.